sad. Like, all you did for the film is a boy meets girl.
How did you write about this area if you hadn't been here before? Did you just do a lot of research, or did you have friends?
I did some research, and I've traveled a lot in the United States in my life, and so I've seen just the different attitudes in the U.S. that are different from place to place, so I put myself in somebody else's head, but it was the event of having a blinder against the snipers is a real event that happened in Sarajevo that I read about, and then I started thinking, who are the sort of people that would put that up, and why would they put it up? And so I made up the story of why they did it and who did it, but the event itself actually happened. And so, that's what I like to do in my work. I like to take something that really did happen that you can look back on, but then examine, and make a story about it. I think that stories are important. Stanley Kubrick, film director, said that real is good, but interesting is better. And that's what fiction should do. I do think that there should be some basis in reality, even if you're writing a science fiction or a fantasy story. You aren't writing about the space itself or a spaceship. You're writing about the people that are on it. And as long as you keep that in mind, everything is pertinent to your own personal experience or putting yourself in the position of somebody else.
Did you talk to people from the Balkans that live in the States and compare their attitudes to the ones here?
Yes, I have. And without getting too much into that, I think that it also depends on their own experience over here and why they left and when they left. This gentleman who is 25, 26 years old, he was born in Bosnia, but he only lived here for 2 years. And then he grew up in Germany and the U.S. He has American attitudes about things. Even though he was born here, he's not really from here, and he doesn't like this area. He thinks that this, his mother brought him here on vacation to meet his grandmother, and he had no interest in being in Bela Crkva, Serbia. He wanted to be back in Queens, New York. And for him, that's his experience. And he didn't understand why I even wanted to be here. Why would you want to come to a place like that? Because I like stories, and I'm looking for something, and I'm not sure what I'm looking for.
So this particular story is your story, but it's just based on true events.
Yes.
How long are you going to be here?
I'm going to be here in Serbia for another week or so, and plan to be in Sarajevo for about 3 weeks. But my whole trip was 7 weeks. I've been here a week and a half already. So.
How long did it take you to write the story?
Actually writing it, this one came pretty quick, and about the only thing that I really did to it afterwards was go back and put in the bit about dirt under his fingernails, because I already had the end and I wanted to say something to connect the end with the beginning. Half an hour. That is well, and I want to say that this story is different. And writing the story initially is not the completed product in 99% of the time. To me, I write a first draft and try to get it written as quickly as possible because I like the spark that does it. Writing fiction is rewriting, it's editing. And, I've got a novel that I've been working on. It's about 160,000 words, and I've been working on that for 4 or 5 years. So, some short stories, it usually takes me an hour to 6 hours or something to write a short story, but then it's making that short story work, and that can take weeks to months. I still have short stories that the idea is good, but it hasn't ever quite clicked, and so this is an anomaly in my own work because I knew what I wanted to say, and I just sat down and it came out, and it's sort of like this sounds weird maybe, but I think ideas are kind of like a reservoir, and each one of us are faucets, and I happen to be lucky enough to be the faucet for the story. I think it wanted to be told, and I got to tell it.
Okay, when and how did you become interested in this region?
When I was 10 or 11, I first read about Franz Ferdinand, the Archduke, being assassinated in Sarajevo. And I didn't understand at that age, and I still don't, how one person fires 3 bullets and 5 empires crumble. To me, that's still a fascinating thing that I don't have. I mean, I know a political answer to it, I know a historical answer, but that's not really why it happened. Those are results of it, and that's fascinated me for, but it's only been the past 10, 12 years that I've really got to collect books, start reading, and find this fascination. And immediately I didn't like the fact that almost everything I've read blames somebody. And I think that's not ever going to get to helping make sure that things like that, humans kill each other. I mean, that's been the history of humanity. But, I think that when you stop blaming, this, especially as a collective, when an individual does something, somebody on a football team goes out and they get drunk in the bar and create a scene and get arrested, does that reflect on the entire football team? And if it reflects on it, but if you blame the entire team for that, I think that's wrong. You blame that jerk who did it, and that's what I've seen especially in this region. There's been so much written over the past 150, 200 years about this region that is just false. And as my own research, I start doing it, and there's famous quotes from Karl Marx about this region, and I look up and I go, Karl Marx didn't even say that, and the translation is faulty. But other scholars start repeating that, and they don't do the research themselves. And that really showed me that there is work to be done here, because common, everyday, accepted facts about the Balkans are very often not true. And my own opinion, 10 years ago, if you had asked me, I would have gone, oh, blah, 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 I think that blah, blah, blah is to blame. And, because I don't want to get into what my own personal thoughts were then, but they have changed as I've met people, as I've done more research. And, but most people don't do that. They hear something or they read something and they just take that as, that's the way it is. Somebody wrote it down, it must be true. Somebody said it on the news, it must be true. And critical theory, again, is a way to go, okay, well, that's their perspective, that's their point of view. But that's not necessarily the only one. That's never the only one. Yeah.
What is it that inspired you to write?
Like to write in general?
Yeah, to write. Is it like you were at a young age and just liked it, or you discovered it when you were in university?
Yeah, no, when I was a kid, I just would, I'd be playing out in the woods or something and see, my mom still has a story I wrote in 2nd grade about a snake and a salamander that went down to the stream, and I'm sure it's as a story isn't very good, but it was that I'd see a salamander and I'm like, I wonder what its life is like, and curiosity, and I need to write. It's just, that's what I do. And now, I didn't go to college right out of high school, and now I have a structure in which everything that I've ever thought now I can, apply it to what I'm learning, and I feel very lucky to do that. I think that you guys are lucky to be in a school like this where, it's smaller classes and your teachers have individual relationships with you. I think that's great, and you may not know how lucky you are about it, but you are.
Oh, yeah. What did you do after high school?
On my own senior year in high school, I started reading Jack Kerouac's On the Road, and I got bored by it, and so I went out and I went hitchhiking across the country, and this was late 80s, early 90s. I followed the Grateful Dead around. I worked at Renaissance fairs. I did, I did things that my family didn't think, you're wasting your life. What are you going to accomplish doing this? You're never going to amount to anything. And later on in life, I managed to get back into school, and now I have context to apply to these things, which I feel lucky. I want to be careful not to suggest that that's a good idea for people, because I was very lucky in that I never got in trouble. I never got hurt. I was never I never had really bad things happen to me. But a lot of people I know that lived a life like that did, and so I certainly wouldn't recommend it to everyone. But I was lucky enough to make it through. Yeah.
So maybe talk a little bit about how you got the university to pay for you to come here. That's a great deal, and you are a student.
I am a student. I'm an undergrad student, bachelor's degree. I haven't even gotten a bachelor's yet. The program is there's a benefactor for the English department there, the literature department, and each year 12 people are selected out of anywhere from 60 to 120, 150 kids apply for this, and my theory was to treat Sarajevo as a text and critically analyze it, and that was very impressive to them. And actually, out of the 12 people that received it, I mean, most people pick, I want to go to London and study Shakespeare, I want to go to London and study Dickens, I want to go to Prague and study Kafka. 2 out of 12 people came here to Serbia. There's somebody else here from my university right now in Serbia talking to, I can't pronounce his last name, Zoran something. He writes science fiction fantasy. He teaches at University of Belgrade, and well known here. But next summer I'm learning Serbian next summer at a university program. But I can fake my way through Czech and Polish, but I can't do Serbian yet. But, yeah.
Since you've been to Sarajevo, did you perhaps visit Croatia?
I haven't been to Sarajevo yet.
Oh, you haven't? Really?
Really.
But did you go to Croatia somewhere, maybe?
I haven't been to Croatia yet. I'm going south from here down to Pristina and then through Montenegro and up through Croatia and back to Sarajevo.
Oh, okay.
So,
If you learn Serbian, you will be able then to brag that you speak Croatian and Bosnian.
Yes,
and
yes.
like understand what's going
Like that,
on.
how many languages
You
speak?
know,
I
like,
speak Serbian.
very
yes,
well.
and it is a different language. When I've been to Prague and I've been to Poland and stuff, and
It's a different
I can speak Polish because in the United States I know quite a few Polish people, and so I can fake my way through Polish, but Serbian is quite different. And, but as for getting here, it was merely just taking something that I'd recently learned it was a pop culture class that we talked about dissecting texts and Marxist readings of something, feminist readings, reader response theory and things like that, and I immediately applied it to, hey, this is my own study that I've been doing for years. Now I have a vocabulary to apply so that I can communicate to other people of what I want to do, and I'm still not really sure what I'm doing, because that's, to me, part of learning. I know I want to head off in this direction and study this, but like I came here and I knew I was talking to 1 or 2 people, but thanks to Ms. Slough and Mr. Slough and some other people, I've met so many individuals who have different stories to tell, and a lot of them there's elements that are same because they all happened here in Belgrade, or they were all in Sarajevo or whatever, and yet each person has a different part of it to tell and a different attitude about it.